to share my screen. Can everyone see my screen? Can you see my screen? Please confirm if you can.
Okay, yes, I can see your screen.
Okay. So good evening, everyone. My name is Toby Ademowo. I'm a UI UX designer passionate about inclusivity and accessibility in design, and ensuring products are usable, equitable, enjoyable, while also meeting the business goal. I have up to 5 years experience in design. I started out as a graphic designer, then transitioned into website design, UI design, and now I'm exploring the field of UX. And that's the reason why I'm taking this class to share part of my UX knowledge with you all. So today's topic is UX interview preparation. Yes. So first off, I would like us to understand I also believe everyone understands what interview is. For the sake of people that do not understand, an interview is a structured conversation where one participant asks question and the other provides answer. But for this class, we are not talking about just an interview. We are talking about UX interview. So UX interview is a research method used to collect in-depth information on people's opinions, thoughts, experiences, and feelings. So this information collected from users are then used to inform our design decisions, so we can build products that solve problems and meet users' needs. The topic we are discussing today is UX interview preparation. But for the sake of people that are not so conversant with UX design, I want us to take a look at UX research, types of research, popular research methods used to carry out. Research. So what is UX research? UX research is the study of learning what end users of a system or product needs and wants, then employing those insights to enhance the design process of products, services, or softwares. So basically, UX research is done in order to understand what user needs on a particular product, to learn their problems and come up with solutions that solves the problem in order to improve the products, the service, or the software. UX research aligns what you, as a designer, think the user needs with what user actually needs. UX research also, the goal of UX research is to prioritize the user, while also making sure that business needs are met. UX research can help to bridge the gap between what a business thinks user needs and what users actually needs before an expensive and time-consuming product is made. So, and now I believe you understand what UX research is. I would like us to discuss the most important quality of a good UX researcher, and that is empathy. So empathy is the ability to understand someone else's feelings or thoughts in a situation. Approaching UX research with empathy makes it easy for you to solve the right problem. Like anyone else, UX designer make a lot of assumptions, but UX design is not about solving problems we assume users want to solve. It's about solving problems that user actually wants solved. So basically, empathy helps you to put yourself in the position of a user, feel what they feel while using your products, feel their pains and emotions while using the products. Empathy is different from sympathy because when you empathize with a user, you feel what they feel. But in the case of sympathy, when you sympathize with a user, you only feel pity or feel sorry for them. You actually, and you're not feeling what they feel. Instead, you are only feeling sorry for what they feel. So, but empathy helps you to put yourself in the user's shoe and feel what they actually feel when using your products. And this will actually help during a research, during the UX research. How do you empathize with users? Ask a lot of questions. You know, when you, as a UX designer, you cannot make assumptions about what user needs. Instead, ask the user directly about their needs and wants, which your product design can address. Ask questions that begin with what, how, and why to gain deeper understanding of your user's perspectives. Become more observant. So when empathizing your, so another way to empathize with your user is to become observant during research or during interviews. Try to put your focus on the user. In interviews where the user is physically present or on a video recording, watching a user interact with you or your product can provide physical cues that affect your research outcomes. To help capture observations, you will take detailed notes or even record your sessions with the users. Another way to empathize with your user is to become an active listener. Active listening requires you to fully concentrate, understand, and remember what is being said by the user you are interacting with. Avoid getting distracted where the conversation is going or what the user might say next. Try to listen to everything that comes out of the mouth of the user and try to document everything so you can always go back to reference them when collating your interview results. Another way to empathize with user is to have an open mind. So we all have biases. Remember, a bias is favoring or having prejudice against something or someone based on limited information. As a UX designer, we have to set those biases aside to better empathize with others. Your goal is to understand the user, not to complicate their feedback with your own opinions or emotions. So having an open mind allows you to listen to everything the user has to say and not having prejudice or having some already made thoughts in your mind about what to expect from the users. So another one is keeping current on UX research. Always try to keep up to date with any UX updates and this helps to stay current. This will give you advantage when on how to interact with your audience. So now that you understand how to empathize with users, I want us to also check out the 3 types of UX research. We have the foundational research, the design research, and the post-launch research. So foundational research, like the name implies, foundation. This type of research is the type of research that is carried out at the beginning stage of the product development lifecycle. Before anything else, you want to do your foundational research. You want to understand, you want to define your problem. You want to do all necessary, understand the problem, do your research, try to understand everything pertaining to the product you are solving for before actually going into the design stage. Then at the design research is the type of research you do during design. So design research happens during the design stage to help inform your designs decisions, to fit the needs of users and also reduce risk. Examples of design research are A/B testing. A/B testing, I'm sure people conversant with UI design must have seen people design 2 types of screens, make 2 different designs for a particular screen and compare which one is better. This is often carried out by people that are actually built in public. They do different types of screens and show it online and ask the general public which one is better. This is an example of a design research. Then post-launch research is done after the design is complete and your product has been launched. This research helps to validate that the product is meeting the user's need through established merits. This type of research answers questions like, did we succeed? So example of the post-launch research is A/B testing, usability studies. Usability studies is when you invite people into the lab to test your design prototype. And during usability study, you try to study the user, try to see how they navigate through your products, see where they're having difficulties. So every observations during the usability study is now analyzed to figure out what needs to be improved, what needs to be iterated before the product actually launches. So now that we know the 3 types of UX research, I want us to also check out the methodologies and frameworks in user research. Research method simply refers to how you get your research done. So research methods are different tools or different ways you employ when you're trying to carry out research. And they can be categorized into 2: who conducts the research and the type of data collected. So who conducts the research can be further broken down into primary research and secondary research. Primary research is the type of research that you conduct yourself. For example, you might interview users, survey users, or conduct usability study to hear from users. Then secondary research is the type of research that is done by someone else. Type of research put together by someone else in magazines or online. This type of research can be found. This type of research can also be found online. Example of secondary research is a scenario where you address secondary research is when you are trying to build a product that has already been built. Let's say you are trying to build a fintech app and you're checking out research that has been done on already existing fintech apps. So basically, secondary research helps you leverage on the work that has been done in the past by someone else. So you don't have to do the work again. Then when types of data collected, that is for primary research and secondary research is for who conducts the research. But when you are categorizing by the types of data collected, we want to look at qualitative research and quantitative research. So qualitative research focuses on large audience. It answers the question, what? Qualitative research focuses on data that can be gathered by counting or measuring. Quantitative research is often based on survey of large groups of people using numerical answers. This type of research often answers questions like how many, how much. If you want to know how the majority of users are experiencing a product, you should use quantitative research. On the other hand, qualitative research focuses on interviewing smaller amounts of users to get their observations, answers. Qualitative research answers the question, why? Qualitative research is often based on survey of, Qualitative research is often based on interviews where we focus on smaller number of users and understand their needs in greater detail. This type of research answers questions like why, how did this happen? If you want to know why you are having a bad experience with your products and how to improve it, you should use qualitative research. So now that we've been able to categorize our research into qualitative research, quantitative research, primary and secondary research, we'll now go ahead and check out our popular research methods. The first one is interviews, which is going to be our focus for the day. Interview is a research method that collects, is a research method used to collect in-depth information of people's opinions, thoughts, experiences, and feelings. Interviews are usually conducted in person, and it includes a series of open-ended questions where the researcher asks the user about their experience. Use interview when your question requires detailed responses. For example, can you spot the difference between these questions? How would you rate your experience using the app on a scale of 1 to 10? That's the first question. How would you rate your experience using the app on a scale of 1 to 10. Then another question is, how was your experience using this app? So looking at these two questions, you'll see the first one is more open-ended and will allow the user to explain how the experience they have further than better than asking how was your experience using the app. That is not as open-ended as that is close-end question, and the type of response to expect from such question will be so limited and short, precise. It can as well be a yes or no answer. Let's also check out the benefits and now that you all know the research method, the popular research method, you might be wondering how you possibly pick one. The key thing is to remember that the research method you choose is decided by the question we are trying to answer. As you start working on a specific project, you'll be able to define the question that will lead you to the best method. Next up, we'll check out the advantages and disadvantages and drawbacks of the methods we just talked about. Research methods, benefits and drawbacks. Then the secondary research. The advantage is that it saves time and money. It is immediately accessible. It backs up primary research. The drawback is that you will not learn from any first-hand user interaction with your product. That is, secondary research is not actually conducted on your own product. It was conducted on other people's products. You are only leveraging on the research results. Another drawback is that you will not receive user feedback specific to your product. Same as, Then another drawback is secondary research can be misleading and generalizing if it's not done properly, appropriately. So if the secondary research conducted on the secondary research you are leveraging on, it was not properly done, you end up using a wrong research, and that's also going to affect your own product. So those are the drawbacks of secondary. Now let's check out interviews. Advantage of interview is that you understand what users think and why. Yes, because these interviews it's a qualitative research, and you ask the user open-ended questions and also ask them follow-up questions that makes them give reasons why they actually giving a particular answer. Then another advantage of interviews, you get to ask follow-up questions and really understand the user's experience. Yeah, so I think I just explained that. So the drawbacks of interview is that it takes time and money. Yes, because interviews might require you to invite people over to your company or to a particular place, get them comfortable, and then conducting the interview. And even after the interview, you can also compensate them with gift items or even cash rewards for their time. Then another drawback of interview is that it's conducted on small sample size, which can be risky when launching a brand new product. Yeah, so because interview It's expensive, it takes time and money. You cannot actually conduct interview on a large number of people. You can only conduct it on a selected few. And that might not be the best type of research to do for a brand new product. So for surveys, advantage of surveys is that surveys allow you to get feedback from a larger sample size users. Yes, because survey is cheap, and survey, you can conduct survey on as much as 1,000 people, as many people as you want. It is fast and it's also expensive. Drawback of survey: feedbacks from users are limited. Yes, because survey is a quantitative research and you can only ask close-ended questions. The questions has to be simple and straightforward and precise. So answers you'll be getting from surveys will be straight to the point and limited. So usability study advantages: first and user interactions. Yes. Then challenge usability study challenge our assumption, and it keeps our assumption from getting in the way of acknowledging the user's experience. Yes. Another advantage is that it gives in-depth feedback. Yes, because it's so drawbacks of survey. Survey only measures how easy the product is to use. Yes. Survey is expensive because you have to bring users into the lab and also reimburse them for their time. Yes. Difference in lab versus real life experience. Yes. So how people interact with products in lab environments is different than how we actually use it in the real life. Yes, because in the lab, you might be getting recorded and getting monitored by up to 2 to 3 people, and some people might not actually feel comfortable in that environment. So the way they use the products in the lab environments might not actually be the way they would use it in real life. So now let's check out these research method application scenarios. The first scenario: you are designing your company's main product. You'll be given a large budget and a long time frame for conducting research. You want to understand how current products fit into user broader day routines and where it falls short to help identify areas of needs for the redesign. So for this scenario, I try to underline the key points. Now you've been given a large budget. You have a large budget. You have money to spend and a long time frame. You have time on your end for the research, for conducting the research, blah, 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 blah. And you want to understand how the current product fits into users' broader everyday routine and where it falls short. So the best type of research method to use here is interview, because yes, interview, you are trying to understand how, like, you need a qualitative answer in this kind of scenario, not just a yes or no question, or you really want to know how the products fits into the user's routine. You are expecting very detailed response from this kind of research, which will help to inform the new design that will be done. Then the second scenario, you are part of a small UX design team at a startup. The company plans to redesign a minor feature that has already been launched, but you need preliminary data to understand problems users are having with the app. Company has aggressive timeline and tight budgets for building out and relaunching the feature. So if you check this scenario, you have aggressive timeline. There's no time. You have very short time to conduct the interview. You have the tight budget as well. And you are trying to understand the problems users are having with the app. Understanding projects is not a yes or no answer. You want to really understand what the problems are. You want your users to give you in-depth feedback that will help to inform the new design. So for this kind of scenario, you want to go with a survey. And we already talked about survey advantages. It is fast, it is cheap, inexpensive. So for this kind of scenario, we want to make it on the survey. So now, how to ask user questions. So how to ask user questions. Write interview questions. So before you actually conduct interview, you want to make sure that you have your interview questions written down. You want to ensure that the interview you conduct are worthwhile for you and your participants. To make the most of your time together, you need to determine clear goals for the interview. As a UX designer, what do you want to learn from the interview? Are there certain user problems or pain points that you need to empathize with during the interview? The more aligned the questions are with your interview goal, the more useful data you obtain will be. So the following are the best practices to keep in mind when writing interview questions. Ask open-ended questions. 2, keep questions short and simple. 3, ask follow-up questions. Yes. So open-ended questions allow the person being interviewed to answer freely instead of answering with simple yes or no. For example, if you are designing an app that helps people save and invest, you should ask questions like, what is your experience with saving and invest? Instead of asking, how have you ever used an app to save and invest? So the first question format allows the user to give their detailed experience with saving and invest. They can even end up mentioning apps that they actually use. They give you enough or even more than enough information that you need when you ask open-ended questions. But when you go with the second question format, which is, have you ever used an app to save and invest? They might end up answering with, yes, I have, or even just stating the name of the app they've used, they've used for saving and invest. So ensure to ask open-ended questions. So also keep your questions short and simple. As an interviewer, you want to make sure that the interview is easy for the participants to understand what you're asking. You cannot make your questions so ambiguous that interview participants has to start to think of what your question actually means. You want to make sure your questions are so simple and very understandable for any participants. Also, ensure to ask follow-up questions. We want to make sure that your interviews are conversational. So encouraging participants to elaborate is best practice. After participants answer an interview questions, try asking them why they gave the response, or use phrases like, tell me more about that, to keep the conversation going and get detailed response. So after gathering your interview questions, you then proceed to conduct the interview. So when conducting the interview, the first thing you do is to meet your participants. And when you meet your participants, you want to introduce yourself and also get them to introduce themselves, even though you already actually have their information. You just want to use that as an icebreaker, so to make them feel comfortable before you actually start to conduct the interview. So the second thing to do is to conduct the interview, like we discussed earlier. Conducting the interview, asking open-ended questions, keeping your questions short and simple, and asking follow-up questions during the interview. So after conducting your interview, while you're conducting the interview, you want to take notes during the interview. So you want to highlight compelling notes during the interview. You want to make sure that you highlight points the user make and points that can actually be useful for your research. You want to highlight those points. You also want to document observations about the users. You should not only focus on what the user is saying, you also want to focus on their body language, the emotions they give while answering the questions. Some interview participants might actually be saying one thing, or what they mean is otherwise. So you want to document everything, because it will be very important to your research. So another thing you want to do when taking notes is to consider recording the interview. And before recording an interview, always seek the participants' permission, whether you can go ahead to record the interview or not, because some people might not allow that. So you want to ask their permission if you can actually proceed to record the interview. Then after taking notes during the interview, after the interview, you want to wrap up the interview. So while wrapping up the interview, show gratitude to the participants for joining the interview. Try to thank them for joining, for taking time to come to the interview. Ask them their final thoughts about the interview. So at this stage, some participants get to say some other things that might be relevant to your research. to your research results. And also thank the interview, the participants, and give them one goodbye. So that will be all for conducting interviews. Up next is questionnaire. I want to take a look at what questionnaire is and also compare questionnaire to survey. So what is questionnaire? A questionnaire is a research instrument that consists of a set of questions or other types of prompts that aims to collect information from a respondent. A research questionnaire is typically a mix of closed-ended questions and open-ended questions. So questionnaire is a research instrument. It is not a research method. And that's the reason why we'll be checking out the similarities between questionnaires and survey, because most people tend to mistake questionnaires for survey. So meaning, questionnaire is a research instrument that consists of a set of questions to collect information from respondents, while survey is a research method used for collecting data from a predefined group of respondents to gain information and insights on various topics of interest. Yeah. Then what is it? Questionnaire is an instrument for data collection, while survey is the process of collecting and analyzing data. Questionnaire is just an instrument for data collection, while survey is the process for analyzing that data, the data you collected using questionnaire. Then survey is a subset of questionnaire is a subset of survey. Survey consists of questionnaires and survey design, logic, and data collection. So, and time and cost. Survey is fast and effective. Questionnaire is fast and cost effective. Survey is much slower and expensive. Yes. Questionnaire is conducted on the target audience, while survey is distributed or conducted on respondents. Questions. Questionnaire is used to ask close-ended and very rarely open-ended questions. Yes, because most of us must have seen questionnaire formats. Most of the questions you find in questionnaires are closed-ended questions. You will see options. Where there are no options, you will see yes or no options, or you see A, B, C, D options. So basically, your response are so limited and you are not permitted to give detailed response on questionnaire. For survey can be close-ended and it can also be open-ended. So answers, questionnaire is objective, survey is subjective or objective. Steps involved in questionnaire design. First step is to identify the scope of your research. So try to understand what the scope of your research entails, what you are designing, what you are trying to conduct research for. Try to understand it. Then also you want to make sure that you keep the questionnaire simple. Keep the questionnaire simple. Ask only one question at a time. be flexible with your options. The open-ended or closed-ended question is a top choice. It is essential to know your audience. Choosing the right tool for your questionnaire is essential. Yeah, so you want to make sure that you keep your questionnaire simple, and you also know your audience. When you are trying to share your questionnaire, try to have like a target audience. You cannot be, let's say you are trying to research for a product, for a kids app product, let's say a kid finance app, and you are sharing questionnaire for adults of age 40 to 50. What kind of response do you want to get from such questionnaire? So know your audience, choose the right tool. If you're conducting a virtual questionnaire, use design tools like Google Forms, Zoho Survey, Typeform, Question Pro, and all that. But if it's a physical questionnaire, all you need is your A4 paper and your questions properly typed and arranged. So choose the right tool. Choosing the right tool is essential for questionnaire. So we have the questionnaire templates you can check out for people that have actually not seen what the questionnaire looks like before. What the questionnaire looks like. Yeah, so this is an example of the product satisfaction survey. I mean, it's written survey, but we already discussed that questionnaire is a tool for, is an instrument for data collection for your survey. So when you look at this questionnaire, you see the products. Everybody does that. So when your questionnaire candidates are filling this, they fill the products here. Purchased form from okay. And how long have you had the products? Have you registered the products warranty? What was your initial impression of the products? So you see the kind of responses you can get. I mean, the answers are limited. You either choose this, or this. You don't get to explain why or which what's your initial impression of the product is. You are only limited to the options that you see here. How often do you use the products? Is it that you choose I've never used it, rarely used it, monthly, weekly, or daily? But if you note, you will see that the options are always kind of general. Is it that you choose, you always find an option that suits your situation. Then after filling all this, then how satisfied are you with our products? Is there anything that can be improved about the products you type it? This is the only parts where you get to give an open-end response. You get to express your feeling, and then you submit the questionnaire. So now let's check out how we collate and interpret our research data. So we can collate research data by identifying users' pain points and preparing a feature spec deck for addressing the pain points. And also creating another way to collate research data is by creating user personas. Another way is by creating user stories. So identifying users' pain points. What are pain points? Pain points are UX issues that frustrate the user and block the user from getting what they need. Pain points can be financial pain points. That is any UX issues associated with financial problems like difficulty making payments on your products. That's an example of the financial pain points. And product pain points, process pain points. So the process pain points talks about that's the kind of pain points you experience when navigating through a product, moving from one screen to another. Like when the user is trying to check out and is finding it difficult to check out, maybe the checkout button is placed somewhere way underneath the web screen. Meanwhile, the checkout should always be at the top. So users can easily check out. So that's an example of process pain points. Then support pain points when users need support. Not every user, everybody that uses the product actually, people will always have one issue or the other and they need support, but when they can't get that support, they start to feel, that's the pain point. So I cited some example here. I need to make payments. That's a financial pain point. I can't check out. That's a process pain point. So we also mentioned user personas as a way of collecting and interpreting our research data. So what are personas? Personas are fictional users whose goals and characteristics represent the needs of a larger group of users. So when you look at the image you have on the screen, see everything about the user, the goal of the user, what the user is trying to achieve, their frustrations, those are the problems they have, then their personal information, and the short bio about the users. Personas can help us identify patterns of behaviors in users that points to a common pain point that a group of users experiences. While personas are fictional, we don't make these characters up from scratch. We build them based on our research. Yes, so the fact that our personas are fictional does not mean, we just assumed or just came up with something off our heads. These are actually based off research. So personas are based on your research. Yeah. So I attached a link to creating a good persona underneath. So another way to interpret your research data is using user stories. So a user story is a fictional one sentence story told from the persona's point of view. to inspire and inform design decision. So let's look at this user story. As an artist, okay, so basically what user story does is it introduces the user's obstacles and states their ultimate goals. Like see, now we have the let's look at this image and see what we have here. As a remote student who spends 3 hours a day during a day studying and purchasing products, I want to be able to order without getting up and potentially losing my team, so that I can enjoy coffee, house products, and continue to work. So this user story states the situation of the user, what they are trying to, their obstacle, like what their pain points, then their goal, what they are trying to achieve. So this is also a way to present your research data. Yes, I think now that would be the end of the topic for the day. If you have any questions, you can go ahead and ask or drop it in the chat.
Okay, thank you so much, Toby, for the session. So I think we have almost 50 persons on this call. So guys, please, everybody drop your questions on the chat. We have a chat on this call, so please drop your questions, or if you want to raise your hand, yeah, or please just drop your questions on the chat and we'll pick it up from there. Or if you understood everything, just indicate you understood. Or if there's a part along the slide in which you missed or you don't understand, please start dropping it on the chat. Thank you. So please, if you have questions, please ask them on the chat. Okay, I'm seeing just one person that has been active on the chat, and we have almost 50 persons here. So everybody understood, right? From what I can get. So please, if you understood, please, everybody start dropping your responses on the chat, please. Okay, I think, Toby, I don't know if you can see, there's just one question. So I don't know if you can see it from your end. If you can hear me, please.
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay, did you see the question? Someone dropped a question on, I think, Damola. Damola, sorry.
Yeah. So the question is it possible to conduct an interview like using questionnaire formats? No. An interview is a qualitative type of research. So for that, for the fact that it's a qualitative type of research, you want to get in-depth feedback, you want to ask open-ended question and ask why your interview participants are giving a particular response. But questionnaire is only used to collect close-ended questions. You give options to users, you give options and participants pick any of the questions that they resonate with. So you cannot use interview, you cannot conduct interviews like questionnaire formats. I hope that answers your question.
Okay, I think that answered the question. There are other questions too also. I think 2 other questions on the chat. Thank you.
Yeah, so I saw from Mufta, I hope I'm not bothering them. Kumina. So she said, for the example on user story, how do you make a conclusion based on information given? So user story is always containing the user's obstacle and also their goals, at least what they are having difficulties with and what they are hoping to achieve. So when you gather user stories from a number of users, a number of interview participants, you can come up with your user story documents, which will help to inform design functions that should be built into your app or your products. So I hope that answers your question. User stories contains the user's pain points and their ultimate goals. And these ultimate goals are then used to factor functions for the products you are building or the problems you are trying to solve. So that is how user stories helps. So another question is, in the case where you are making a research and the participants haven't used the already existing product, what is next? So I think, like I said, when you're making your research, you want to make sure that you, before actually going out to interview people, you want to make sure you gathered, you know your interview participants, like you know the people you are trying to interview. Like you cannot want to interview for a kids product and go out to a gathering of adult people and start to interview them. So if you have actually prepared for the interview and you know your interview participants, you will not experience such a situation unless you've not done your, you've not prepared for the interview. So I hope that answers your question. So based on another question from Daniel Moses, based on the disadvantages or drawbacks that all the types of research have, which one is recommended as the best type to use? So this question, I wouldn't say a particular research method is the best to use. The research method you use is based on your research goal. What are you trying to achieve at the end of the research? If you are trying to redesign, let's say you already have an existing app and you're trying to redesign a feature. So for that kind of research, you want to, for that kind of scenario, you want to conduct interviews. You want to make, or you conduct usability testing where users actually use your products and you document their reactions, their their feelings, their emotions, and everything. How easy it was to use the products. But in a situation like that, if you say you want to use secondary research, I mean, that's not going to work for you. So it depends on what you are actually trying to solve. That is what will inform the kind of research method you want to go with. I hope that answers your question. And so someone said, I don't really get the user personal side. Like, is it a form of interview tool? And how can one person's story cover for others? Please explain further. Yes, so for the user personas, each user persona is like a representation of a group of people, actually. Like, looking at this person, Daniela is of age 48. Yeah, it's a master's degree person. She lives in Atlanta, Georgia. Family is married with 2 children, blah, blah, blah. So people with these characteristics, Daniela is standing as a representation of this group of users. So that forms a user persona for your study, for your research. Then we can also have another user persona that says, let's say Toby is age 26. He lives in Lagos, Nigeria, blah, blah, blah. Then I will be standing for another group of users. The group of users I'm standing for will be people with the same characteristics. People that are my age, students, youths, students, yeah, then occupations. I mean, it can actually be any type of occupation. So each persona is a representation of a larger group of users, actually. So that is why a user persona can cover for others of the same group, people with the same characteristics and goals, you know. So I hope that answers your question. So how can someone conduct research for new products from Matthew? Okay. Yes, for new products, you want to make sure you use foundational research. Okay. You want to use foundational research, and if the product is an existing product, you can always leverage on secondary research, checking out similar products and checking out their research, facts about them, and using it, picking when you check out other products, you see what was done wrong, what was done right, and you try to just keep the aspect that was done right and use it to back up your own primary research. So that's a way to conduct research for new products.
Okay, all right. Yeah, Toby, I believe you've gone through all the questions, or if I'm not mistaken.
Yes, I think I have.
Okay, all right. Okay, I think I'm seeing some questions. I don't know if you've attended to that. So from my end,
Okay.
how many
Okay.
persona is enough for a user research? I don't know if you've attended to that question.
Yeah, so for user research,
Yeah, for
uh,
user research.
3 to 4 personas is enough for your user research. And you want to make sure that the three personas are spread across different demographic of users. One can be for the adult people of age, blah, blah, blah. Then one for the youth of, just try to make sure that the personas covers your research goal. What you are trying to achieve at the end of the day. So 3 to 4 personas is enough for user research.
Okay, thank you so much. So I'm going to take the next question if you haven't gone through that. Okay, yeah, how do we reduce bias? Because sometimes we tend to misinterpret participants' body language, expression, or even spoken words. So that is the next question.
Yes, so reducing bias, I think, so for reducing bias, you want to make sure that you keep an open mind. Because there are certain beliefs we have of particular group of people. Like let's say you see, trying to think of a very good example. Okay, so let's say students now, you're trying to interview a student. So you might actually think like there are certain beliefs you have of every student, but don't try to like just assume that, okay, this particular person is another student I'm about to interview. Just keep an open mind. The person might actually like, the response you get from such person might, the thought process of the person might be like that of an adult, might be like that of a child. So keep an open mind. That's a way to avoid bias.
Okay,
Conducting your research. Yeah.
right. I think I'm going to read the last question, if I'm not mistaken. Okay, must each user persona be used to make a user story, or they do not need to be linked? So that is for the next question.
User persona be used to all the way to link. So each user persona. Actually, user personas are just about, it's about each are fictional users whose goals and characteristics represent the needs of a larger group of users. They are fictional characteristics. User stories are sentences told from the person's point of view to inspire and inform design decisions. So when you are gathering your user personas, you already like have about 4, you already like categorize them into 4, maximum of 4 user personas. And these personas can then, so from these 4 different user personas, you can actually now use all the questions you get from the 4 different user personas to make your user stories. But you can actually just use every individual user to conduct your user story. So basically what I'm trying to say is that amongst the 4 user personas, you can use all of them, all the questions you get from them, their goals and their goals to form your user stories. Yeah. Yes.
Okay. Thank you so much, Toby. Yeah, so for everyone, if your question was not attended to, you can just kindly drop it if we didn't go through your question. Yeah, so if there's any other question, you can just drop it on the chat or we'll just be rounding up now. So please just indicate if there's any questions. So in just maybe 5 seconds, or we'll just round up for today. So thank you so much, Toby, for taking us today. So I'll be dropping Toby's LinkedIn profile on the chat. So please, everyone on this call, please, you can connect to him via LinkedIn. You can reach out to him if you have questions. If you have questions as regards the topic you just taught today, or any other aspect as regards design or user experience, you can also reach out to him. So quickly, I will drop his URL link directly to his LinkedIn profile, and please, everyone should connect with him. So please, let me just do that now. Thank you. Okay, guys, sorry for the delay. So please, I just dropped the link. Okay, so guys, please, I just dropped the link on the chat. If you haven't connected with him, please do that now. Please do that now, everyone. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Toby, for today's class. Yeah, thank you so much, Toby. Okay. Yeah, bye, everyone. I thank you guys for joining us today. Good night, everyone. And bye, guys.
Yeah. Good night, everyone.